Hey, everybody. Oh, welcome into the Cute Co podcast.
Are you going to explain what you're laughing about?
No, I just think everybody just look at Danny's picture and just take note of his head placement. But
I don't know if that is a phallic piece of the statue it looks like. I mean, I agree.
What else is it?
But do you think they really put that on there?
I mean, you got to be accurate. It'd be kind of weird not to have it. We had the statue of David with no penis. You're like, it should be there. You'd be like, what's wrong with the statue?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So welcome in. Sorry for the laughter, but I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. I'm just
welcome into another episode of the Q Code podcast. I'll have to take it so that Trav can have his jollies right now.
That is the worst word
I was going to say,
right now.
Why that word? That's like Mr. Rich. You remember Mr. Rich, our band teacher, used to say jollies?
Yeah.
He'd be like, some of you out there are getting your jollies by goofing off, giggling in class.
But anyway, we are back with another episode. Last week, you guys would have caught our lost episode that we thought we had lost. We recorded a couple months back on the coronavirus this was probably late March when it was like early days of the coronavirus. We thought
pre-TM.
It was pre-TM.
It was pre-TM. But we thought we lost it because we sent the file into Zoom to have them work on fixing it because there was something wrong with the file, and we never heard back from them. But then Alan was able to watch a YouTube video. Is that what you said, Al?
Yeah.
And he was able to figure out how to fix the file himself. So we were able to get it back so you guys can hear, probably outdated from the fact that you're listening to it quite a bit after the fact that we had the conversation. But
it was literally like a 45-second YouTube video, but it was finding the right YouTube video that took forever, that actually explained exactly what I needed.
So there you
I
have it.
haven't listened to the episode, but I hope it's just full of references that feel incredibly dated now. You're like, the worst thing that could happen in 2020 right now is that these movies I like don't come out and all these sorts of things that just feel... I mean, if someone started protesting right now, that'd be bananas, right? And everything's just always like feeling really dated. This virus will blow over in a couple of days, tops, guaranteed. You can quote me on that. Danny Barnes. Riddled with all sorts of inconsistencies.
No, I just assumed that we didn't get the file because it was too large. I swear that was like a 3-hour-long episode.
I don't know how long it was. I'll have to look. It was like maybe close to 2. But we covered, in hindsight, when I had to write the show notes to release it, I realized, I'm like, oh yeah, we covered like the pandemics of the past was like a huge portion of what we did. So we went back and we talked about like the Black Plague and the Spanish flu and AIDS and all that stuff. So
they probably put like 6 Zoom employees on it, but just none of them could make it all the way through to fix your videos. They're like, we've expanded too much manpower doing this. Time to move on. Leave them behind.
But if you guys have been listening, before that, we had a series that we were doing on amazing to me. But no, same thing I'm seeing.
Yeah, I did, and then I went from like happy Alan to like angry Alan. Like, the blink of an eye.
Anyway,
you guys were cutting out like for the last 30 seconds, so I don't know what
you were cutting out. I think
you were completely frozen on the.
You were laughing in the most jolly of positions. You were like leaned back like some kind of Santa Claus, just chuckling, your belly bouncing like bowls full of jelly. and then all of a sudden it like hard cut, and you were like angry.
So in case
I'm
anybody didn't
recording
catch,
Since I'm the one recording, you guys are the ones that are going to be frozen in that.
No.
Suckers.
well, but like I said, just in case you didn't catch what we just said, in case it cut out. But yeah, before this, each of us did a conspiracy we talked about. So we're kind of wrapping up. I know we said we were wrapping up one combination of the four of us, and we decided to do one on the Denver airport and the conspiracy that surrounds that. As you can tell from each of our pictures, Trav has a weird mural picture, Alan has the airport, I have the Bronco, and Trav Mydell has some seance.
I put cults into Google and this came up.
Oh.
And so I put it on.
It's a vigil.
Pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's not a vigil. I mean, like, unless it's a vigil led by the devil himself.
Anyway, so that's what we're going to get into today. One interesting fact, or I guess facts about the Denver airport for anybody who doesn't know. It was opened in 1995. So it's not super old. It's, I guess, 25 years old at this point. But they were 16 months behind schedule when they completed the Denver airport, and it cost them an extra over $2 billion from their original budget in order to complete it. And so that's kind of one of the things that people question about the Denver airport in general. So we'll get into that. But because it was 16 months late and behind schedule, it reminded me of a question that I have for you guys. And our intro question of the week is, what's the longest you've ever waited for when you ordered a package? Like, what was the longest you had to wait for your package to get to you in the mail?
I was wondering when I saw that question. I was like, I don't understand why this is a question we're asking, but now your context makes more sense.
I don't get
it though, really.
I mean, that you can be 16 months over schedule just pitching a bunch of tents, basically.
Yeah. Took me a second, but I'm like, okay, because the roof.
The roof looks like tents. Alan wasn't just talking about boners. He was 16 months over budget, just pitching a tent. Pitch a tent every day, under budget.
How could that cost $2 billion?
Pitch tents for free. But yeah, so Trav Mydell, why don't you start?
Oh, thanks for giving me the opportunity to start. So fortunate.
Hey, Danny, why don't you tell them the reason why you came up with this? Danny is very upset right now because he's got a package that is being delayed. He doesn't know why.
So he just wanted to talk about it?
And he's frustrated, and this is his way to get it out into the world. And I guarantee you that some little piece of him is hoping very much so that whoever it is that has his item is watching. And he will feel remorse for not sending his package on time.
You better hope he's not watching. I think this will only fuel the fire of him not wanting to send it. What did you order that's missing?
It's a card.
Trav and I ordered a card or bought a card on eBay like over a week ago, and it still hasn't come.
Over a week ago? Chill out, dude. eBay is not Amazon. It doesn't ship overnight. That puppy I've waited a month and a half for.
It is.
But it tells you
3-day shipping.
Yeah, it told you it's supposed to be here on the 5th.
Leaving bad reviews.
It hasn't got here yet. But I did message him, so Trav doesn't know this yet. I just barely heard from him right before we got on this podcast, but he took a picture of an envelope with your name on it, Trav, and your address, and he sent it to me and said, I did mail it. And so I said, okay, I'll keep waiting for it. So we'll see if it ever shows.
Did he give you a tracking number?
No, because there wasn't one. Normally people have tracking numbers, but
You should have got your tracking number.
he didn't have one. He's like, because it's not a high value card,
No.
I just did a plain white envelope, and he called it a PWE.
That's
so
dumb.
he just
He's
sent it.
dummy.
He just sent it in a letter form,
Yeah,
like a letter, and
Yeah.
he just wrote my name on it.
yeah. So
You
look
should
for
just
it.
give him some seriously bad reviews. 'Cause
Trav,
he,
so
one,
his-
he needs to
some
pad that
judgment
envelope,
lately.
and two, he should be given a tracking number. Tracking numbers are virtually free. It's not like you have to have some kind of where they just basically give them to you now for free of charge.
Yeah.
So just get a tracking number. It's like good for him and for you.
Yeah,
Because
but what
then-
he did was he just put a freaking stamp on it, probably.
Yeah, he did. He put a
He
stamp
put
on
a
it.
stamp on it.
Yeah.
Unless
I'll have to send you guys the picture after this.
Trav got it and he just threw it away like it was junk mail, not knowing.
Yeah, I thought it was a credit card.
Yeah.
No.
Tossed in the garbage.
It
Handwritten
is-
credit
I'm aware.
card.
It is handwritten.
Yeah, but do you know how many letters I get that are handwritten?
Do you get a lot of letters that are handwritten? I don't get any
No,
handwritten
they're like
letters.
printed but in a font that looks handwritten. And they're like,
Alan is part of a lot of like chain mail.
They're like, send this letter to 10 other people or your family's cursed.
You know how many letters I get in the mail?
I got a package today.
Handwritten.
Well, I don't feel that bad for you because it's a week, but I hope it does come. I just think that, like, I wonder if the guy was like, you're like, hey, where's my package? And he's like, sorry, my wife's got coronavirus and I lost my job in the economy and protested for my business. And you're like, send me my card already. It was due here 3 days ago. He's like,
well, I ordered never.
the longest I had to wait for something, and it was terrible. I waited 3.5 months for something that was supposed to be here in 5 days. And I was like, I ordered a custom built comic book holder. And so it was like two drawers, like it's like a chest. It was like 4 drawers wide, 2 on the top. So it was like 8 drawers total. And they were like hand built and designed so you could like slide the comics in the front so they were exposed and they slid out and they were super nice and custom built. And it was coming all in one piece. And the guy who was amazing, who I bought it from, gave it to like a new delivery driver because they can't just like stick that in an envelope and put a stamp on it. So they had to like hire somebody. And it was like $300 for me to ship this across the country to me from New Jersey where he made it. And the guy was like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 days. It's going to be 5 days. And so he calls me, the driver, and was like, hey, I'm down in, it was like kind of just north of Portland, between like Portland and Spokane. And he was like, I broke down, or not Spokane, Tacoma in Washington. And he's like, I broke down. I'll be there tomorrow. I just got to repair my tires. And I was like, okay. And that from that moment began a 3-month excursion of me waiting for him to get essentially an hour up the coast to me. And he was, and like every day I called him, new things were happening where he's like, I like woke up this morning and the engine fell out. And I was like, what? And I was like, can you just rent a truck? And he's like, I'll be there tomorrow, I swear. And it went on for like 3 months and we were threatening. I called the police on him. Like it got really heated. And then like his wife called me and she's like, he had a heart attack because he's so stressed out about getting a bad review from you that he's in the hospital and he can't deliver it. And I'm like, do you hear the words you were saying right now? Ludicrous they sound. And he like finally showed up like 3 months later and dropped it off. And it was like had leaves in it and stuff. And it was all like dinged up. And I was like, he was like, it was in a parking lot. And I was like, what? And he's like, you thought I was going to steal it, didn't you? This will show you that I wasn't going to steal it. And I'm like, you're 3 months late. I don't care if you stole it. At this point, you may as well have it. The guy's building me a new one. Like, it was so ridiculous. It was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life.
So did you get a second one?
No, because when it arrived, it was covered in leaves and it was all beaten up. But I took it inside and I did a little bit of woodsman magic on it. Like I got one of those little pens, you know? You can, like paint, and I did a little of that and cleaned up a lot of the edges, got the leaves out of it, dusted it down. It wasn't too bad once I got it all put there. But I was livid by the time he got there.
So the guy who built it wasn't the guy that was delivering it?
No, he used a company to deliver it. Some dude. But the guy like called the police on him and it was a really awkward conversation. And the police were like, now, what got stolen? And I was like, it's a comic book shelf. It stores my comic books. And he's like, who stole it? And I was like, it was custom built and delivered to me. Just like rant. That was my comic book shelf to the police officer. It was like, I'm not taking this call.
Well, actually, that's better the story than I expected somebody to have. That's pretty good.
Practice with your nerd
Push,
voice.
yeah. Push your glasses up the bridge of your nose. It's like, what are you like? I'll tell you what, Star Trek's better than Star Wars, and you shove them up your nose. So make a point.
Anybody else have a story?
Not really. I think we probably should have ended on him because that was the good
My
one.
story was just going to be on what's today? I think it was like Friday. I ordered a Viking hat, a fitted one, and it's supposed to be here on Wednesday, and I'm still waiting.
It's supposed to be here on this coming Wednesday?
Yeah.
So it's not even late yet. It's still tracking. So your story is really exciting.
But
I'm still waiting for Wednesday.
I mean, Wednesday's only like a day and a half away, guys. I mean, you never know. At this point, anything goes.
For they were out of stock of the black hats, so I had to settle for a purple hat, which is still my favorite color is Viking purple, but black goes with everything, so I wanted that. But yeah.
It's tough life. I do appreciate your company, Trav, Amazon. Now they typically under promise, over deliver, because a lot of times I'll be like, this is out of stock and you will not receive it for a month and a half during this pandemic, and then 2 days later I have it on my doorstep. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do a lot of that myself. I personally often go down and say, my friend Daniel needs his stuff. Can we go ahead and expedite it? Thanks. And our guy Dave, who runs the shipping down there, he's like, sure, yeah, it's fine. It's very easy. We're all very close.
I figured.
Company.
I'm like, I got a man on the inside, so don't worry, Liz.
I was reading a bunch of like Amazon reviews like a month ago for some reason. And like there were a bunch of people bashing Amazon saying like,
it's bullshit.
Suck. They're not doing they won't get me any of my packages and all that stuff.
That's bullshit.
Like, really? Amazon's like doing bad now? What? I don't know.
No, Amazon's that. People like, I mean, Amazon, look. Actually, I'm not gonna get into this because I could probably get fired. So let's just move on to a different topic. So
all right. So really the real reason that I brought this question up is here's an article that I stumbled across.
An article.
So it wasn't because of the airport, and it wasn't because you're angry that you have a delayed package. There was a third reason to this question. That's an article.
What are you reading that takes you, Danny? Do you realize that all of the articles that you've read for these podcast episodes have to do with parcel delivery? Trav, and just so you know, there were several episodes, like towards the beginning of this podcast, that he just kept talking about different ways that parcels can be delivered. It is
like
I don't get what is your obsession with it? Why do you keep reading? Why do you keep reading articles about delivering packages?
He's checking that website, parceldelivery.com, every day, reading up the news.
Why is this an interest of yours?
The parcel
down the line. We talk about our secret passions. Danny's gonna be like, package delivery. See what's going where, who's getting what, you know.
Like, I don't think anybody in the history of the world has ever researched parcel delivery as much as Danny has.
He's like the modern stamp collector. He's just like moved into the next phase. It's not about stamps anymore. It's about tracking.
I totally forgot about those other ones, but yeah. Apparently I do have a thing for parcel.
How did you forget? He forgets because he just spent so much time learning about it all of
This episode is just gonna be nothing but laughter. No one's gonna hear anything other than my wispy laughter or whatever you call it. So no, anyway, I stumbled across an article titled "Canadian Man Receives Package Ordered 8 Years Earlier." And that's what got me thinking about it. But yeah, as a Toronto man said he was surprised and confused when a package showed up at his home containing a product that he had ordered 8 years earlier. Elliot Bernstein said a Canada Post delivery worker left a package from well.ca on his doorstep May 6th, and he was initially confounded about its origins. I was very confused because I hadn't ordered anything from well.com in a while, Bernstein told CBC News. And then remembered one time about 8 years ago, I ordered something from them. The package included a tube of Brill cream, a hairstyling product he had ordered in 2012, along with an invoice dated that year. I started laughing because I thought it was pretty funny that it came 8 years later. So, and it kind of goes on to say that he got this package 8 years late. He figured that somebody just found the package, it like sitting in the corner of the factory, and then decided like, oh, it must have never got shipped, and just shipped it.
Was it delivered by Tom Hanks?
That's why I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna make that same joke.
High five.
Just
Brill
waiting for it. Bam.
Wait, why?
Because Castaway, he delivers that FedEx package at the end after being on the island.
That's right.
What was it?
That's what was in it. Was Brill cream?
No,
Yeah.
you don't know what's in it. That's the mystery.
So,
I always think that was like a raft. We just should have opened it up.
Or like some like
An
GPS
inflatable raft.
phone,
They're like my
satellite
like
phone.
3-day. What are those like 3-day like life surviving packages? Like my 3-day life saving package came with like a flare gun and a raft and an SOS sign. And he's like, should have opened that package. Wilson.
it's got a space blanket. It's got.
Or it was like a beach ball.
Yeah, that actually would have been pretty good. It was a beach ball. He
Could
just
have had
loses
another
it.
Wilson.
A weaker
Maybe.
Wilson. Well, Danny, this
Two
is great.
Wilsons.
I've appreciated this interesting detour into the world of your package obsession. Glad
So
we've taken this
yeah,
time to talk
they
about
did
it.
ask. They did ask him if he used the Brill cream, and he stated that he did not because he was unaware of this condition that it was in because it was discolored by the time that he opened it. So
What's Brill cream again?
it's like styling gel kind
Hair
of
gel,
stuff.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like, but it's creamy, like cream.
Like a something about Mary type deal.
I guess.
God.
So anyway, let's get into the Denver airport conspiracy. What do you guys think?
Yes, I would
I
like
think it was
to
a great
talk
transition.
about it.
Natural. What we were talking about easily moves
speaking
into
of
the
late
topic.
packages. So
I
yeah,
don't know
I mean, if
how
anyone,
that makes sense.
Based on it being built 16 months late, I wouldn't count on any flights being on time.
Okay, Dad. Thanks for that joke.
like they had just scheduled it, and they're like, everything is pushed back 16 months. We're gonna do our best to catch up, and now here they are, still trying to catch up 25 years later.
It's like the doctor's office. Once you fall behind, it's just hard to pick back up again.
It's just perpetual. But anyway, yeah, so the conspiracy, the Denver airport conspiracy, in a nutshell, and you guys feel free to expand on this because this is a very simplistic version, but it's believed that the airport in Denver was actually built by a group of people known as the New World Order. This group of people has built the airport as really as a facade or a cover-up for a series of underground tunnels and buildings and secret bases that they can utilize in the case of an emergency, like if things go to shit around the world, in essence, meaning whether it's a pandemic or a world war, nuclear bombs, or whatever reason that forces them to have to,
Riots.
yeah, whatever it is, forces them to have to go seek shelter
Killer
somewhere.
bees.
And so
Hornet.
it's a place
Hornet.
where the world's elite can go and hide in this underground city, basically, that's supposedly underneath there. Do you guys, I mean, that's the gist of what I got from the overall conspiracy. And we'll get into details here in a minute, but you guys have anything else that was very shocking as far as the overall conspiracy goes?
Well, when I was growing up, the New World Order was on. There was like a wrestling thing, wasn't it?
WWE.
The NWO was like
Yeah,
within
that's right.
WWE.
I
So
watched a lot of wrestling as I was growing up, but I forgot about the NWO.
But
Thanks for sharing that, Danny. That was real great. That was a great input to that conversation. Really added to the dynamic there that was presented.
I've heard like this. I don't know if I think I've also heard the same thing about the Illuminati. Basically, is that they want to kill off most of the population so that we don't destroy the earth or whatever. Yeah.
But I think with these guys, they don't want to kill off the earth necessarily. They just have this as a place to go to in case things get bad. Which right now they would be occupying. They should be like moving on down in there. But like, I think the thing that about this, and we'll obviously get into this more, that kind of makes me doubt this whole thing is like, if you were really going to build like a secret place like this, would you be like, let's decorate it in the most conspicuous things? Like you would just
Conspicuous.
yeah, thank you. You would just build a normal airport and be like, it's under there. But you wouldn't be like, let's put weird pictures in a giant blue horse statue and make it super weird and make people constantly question whether something is actually down there or not.
Yeah. No, that's my end conclusion too, is basically like why. And even watching that documentary, there was a documentary that Alan, Trav, and I have each watched, Trav Cole, that
Thanks for calling
kind
me
of
out. I was busy. It was a busy week.
No, you're fine. You weren't supposed to watch the documentary.
You could have just left it at Trav Allen and I, and no one would have known which one. Then you'd be like, oh, no. Let me give credit where credit's due. Talk about Trav Cole, not Trav Mydell.
But yeah, like we watched the documentary, and now at this point I forgot where I was going with this. So well done, Trav Mydell. You threw me off.
Was it your like final concluding statements about?
Yeah, you got to your concluding statement pretty quick.
That's right. Yeah. So I mentioned it while I was, because Trav Cole came over and watched it briefly with me. But yeah, one of my comments was
I only watched a little bit of it. I only briefly watched it.
Romantic. I like it.
But I did mention to him, like, it doesn't make any sense that if they go to all this trouble to freaking create like this secret base or whatever they're doing, that they would like just keep putting all these hints out there. It kind of goes back to the Beatles thing where it's like they are apparently trying to cover up the death of Paul McCartney, but in doing so, they're putting out all these clues that he died and that they replaced him. So similar type of thing on this one. But with the Denver airports, some of the reasons that I had or that I caught that would cause people to think that there is actually this conspiracy around it. Again, we mentioned earlier, it was 16 months late. It was over $2 billion over budget. So a lot of people are saying, like, what would cause it to be so far over budget for an airport? The airport's actually not government owned, from my understanding. It was privately built and funded. So there's people who think or conspiracize or whatever that the money actually came from the Rothschild family, aka or also like possibly the Queen of England, who was just fencing for the Rothschild family. Is kind of some of the stories behind that. The Rothschild family, does anyone know any more about the Rothschild family as far as details? Because I feel like they pop up a lot in these type of conspiracies having to do with the Illuminati, or in this case, the New World Order.
Weren't
I
they
don't
just
think I even know who they are. This might be the
just, like,
first time
really-
I've heard of them.
really rich family, kind of like Rockefellers type deal. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, they're a very wealthy family, but I just don't know the details and why they're always associated with all these different conspiracies. That's something I guess I'll have to look into at a different time. But yeah, so other things were there was claims that way more dirt was moved during the building of this airport than that should have been moved during the building of this airport, and that dirt is still being moved to this day, meaning they think that they're still digging and building things underneath the airports. So those are some of the highlights as far as like parts of the airport or during the building of the airport that make people question things. And then this brings me back to the documentary that we watched. Trav, do you want to explain to them how the main character, not the main character, the host of the documentary is a geologist, and that he was able, what he concluded as far as trying to prove whether or not it was even possible to build
So first off,
tunnels underneath the airport?
I was going to say, before you go, I was going to say I had an issue with this part. And I'll explain after. If you don't bring it up, I'll explain.
Yeah. So let me just start off by saying that the host, Scott Walters, has seen National Treasure 1 and 2 probably way too many times. And it is over dramatized for everything. Like he called up this, like, some director of the airport and was like, "Hi, this is Scott Walters, and I'm investigating the conspiracy of the New World Order and the bunker you have under your airport. Please give me a call back." And I'm like, he's not gonna call you back. So, but it starts out super weird because, like, this guy, like Scott Walters, goes and he talks to just and I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention at the very beginning, but apparently finds some guy who, you know, is very certain that there is a conspiracy going on here. And to start their investigation off, they go out to a field 3 or 4 miles away from the airport and they dig a hole. And he gets some dirt in his hands, and he gets one of those little
monocle type thing.
Monocle thing.
I'd almost, but I would say it's more like a like a gem type of.
Yeah, puts that on, and he's like, yeah. I don't remember the type of dirt, but he's just like,
it was sandstone.
This is sandstone. You could definitely build a bunker in sandstone. and it's like, that's how it starts.
Well, when he said, first of all, he goes, this is mostly sandstone and it's mostly quartz.
It's one or the other, buddy.
But yeah, so that was like his way of starting out. It's like, okay, well, my findings as a geologist, and trust me, I know dirt, you could dig in this. And I'm like, yeah, you guys just use a little tiny shovel and you guys dug about 2 feet deep. So you could dig in it.
So my issue with it is, they literally, this is like a few miles away from the airport. And they dig about 2 feet deep, one hole, one specimen that he examines. And it's like, there's a saying that, like, if you go to the ocean and you scoop up a cup of water and there's no fish in it, you can't just conclude, well, there are no fish in the ocean. Does that make sense?
That's true.
It's a sick burn.
That is a saying.
Call up Scott and tell
Scott
him.
Walters.
Dug down 2 feet and you looked at one little sample for like 30 seconds. And you're going to conclude everything based off of that.
It's true. He does. I mean, I get what he's trying to do, and this is my conclusion as far as his reasoning to even put it in there. Is he says, like, in his intro, it's a whole series. So it's called, the documentary is called America Unearthed, and it's this whole series. Yeah, it's this whole series that basically he goes around and uses his geological knowledge to prove things or disprove things or look into whatever it is that he's trying to figure out. And so I think with the Denver airport conspiracy, like really the only geological thing he can test is just whether or not it was even possible to build tunnels underneath the ground in that area. And so that's why he was testing it. But
it sounds like he didn't even do a good job of that. His one job, the one thing he could do to prove it, he was like, a one sample 2 miles away is good enough.
Like,
not only that, if you're digging a tunnel, wouldn't you dig it deeper than 2 feet? Like,
yeah. That's not even like a
you have no idea
garden basement.
And he could have done multiple holes, like in a circular perimeter all around the airport. Would have been a little bit more data.
It's true.
Yeah, so who's the guy that you think first noticed there was more dirt coming out of that airport? Like some guy's like driving to work every day and he's like, they sure are moving a lot of dirt out of that airport. Wonder what's going on behind that fence.
It's just geologists testing if they can actually dig.
Yeah, I just don't even know if I would ever notice that. Like they could be moving like a giant tank in there, and I'd be like, "That's a tank going in there." I don't know.
Yeah, we have Kennecott copper mine here. It's been there for my entire life. Every time I look at it, it just looks the same. I'm sure they're moving a lot of dirt, but I don't notice any difference.
I have a quick question for you guys. Is Alan freezing continually, or is it just me?
No, he freezes.
Okay.
So nothing that I just said.
Sometimes you freeze.
Yes. So do you.
Do I freeze sometimes?
Yeah,
No,
you
you
guys
haven't
have frozen a
yet.
couple times for me, but I don't know who's.
Look, I never.
For anybody who's not watching, Trav is pretending to freeze.
I'm doing a
But what
fantastic
was
job
funny
at it.
is, I don't know if you saw Trav, but Danny froze the moment you froze. He pretended to freeze.
Wait,
No,
I
didn't
did?
notice that. I didn't notice that. That was enjoyable. That would be enjoyable though.
Anyway, okay, moving on. So yeah, I mean the soil check thing was kind of one of those, and I agree with you, Alan. And I think that was our whole point. Was just it seemed very like weak evidence, I guess, that there possibly could be tunnels. I mean, underneath the Denver
Well,
airport.
and the whole thing about it is that he's just feeding into this like gentleman's delusions or whatever you want to call it, but he's like, yep, they definitely could dig there, and this guy's like, I knew it.
But like, even if there are tunnels, I imagine most airports have tunnels because there's probably things they're like moving around down there. Like it's not to me.
They actually
real.
do have, and they take them later on a tour of the tunnels underneath, where they had like this huge baggage. What do you call them? Conveyor belt,
like the baggage claim type of system.
Yeah, that they couldn't
from
ever
Toy Story.
get working fully, so they
Yes,
they
just
used to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, but yeah, we'll go into the underground tunnels in a little bit. But yeah, they found them. I guess the real question is, well, is there more tunnels underneath that? So that's just like the top level, but who's to say there's not like multiple levels of tunnels underneath
the tunnels
that?
have tunnels.
Yeah. And so they also, I mean, they say that there's buildings underneath there that are like 8 stories high. So it's got to be like this huge, massive undertaking.
No way.
It's like
So really deep.
How
Really
far
cute.
down do they need to show him before he's convinced? It's like the whole theory there used to be of like the world was just held up on a tortoise's back. And then somebody goes, well, what's that tortoise standing on? And they go, it's just tortoises the whole way down.
Yeah. What was that from, though? I've heard that before.
I've heard it too.
Stephen Hawking mentions it in his book, A Brief History of Time.
It's also Stephen King uses the turtle too in some of his
does he?
stories as well. Yeah.
Nice. So anyway, that brings us to we'll start with the evil Bronco. The evil Bronco was not mentioned in the documentary.
Wait. Are we moving on from the New Order, or is this still New Order stuff? Because I know there's multiple conspiracies. I'm curious if this is. Are we still talking New Order? Because I have a New Order thing.
Yeah, we're still talking New Order. Basically everything. I mean, we can go under alternate conspiracies at the end.
One thing I just wanted to mention about the New Order building it is the airport's dedication marker credits an organization called the New World Airport Commission for building it, which is part of what fuels the conspiracy. But what's crazy is that nobody can find the sense that this organization actually exists.
Oh.
And so that like kind of tends to
Well, since you're bringing it up, Trav, why don't you bring up image number 2 first, then Alan, if you wouldn't mind.
Did I spoil something, Danny?
No, you didn't spoil it. I mean, I just had it queued up as number 2. But
He's all disappointed.
I know. I feel like I broke his little heart.
Gotta go to that one first.
Well, I guess since you already ruined it.
So for anybody who's watching, so there is a capstone at the Denver airport. Here's an image of it for anybody who's watching on YouTube. If anybody's not watching on YouTube, just Google Freemason capstone at Denver airport. You'll see an image of it. But you can see like predominantly, like right in the middle, there is the Freemason symbol. And it was dedicated March 19th, 1994. But there was a woman in the documentary that had a really good point. She's like, because he questioned her about this capstone, and she said, well, yeah, like the Freemasons make a lot of capstones for a lot of public buildings. We're just one of the many. And I didn't go look specifically, but to me, that sounds probably right. Like, I don't think the Freemasons can be this powerful secret organization with the cost of just one capstone. I mean, they've got to be selling many capstones to fund that kind of organization. Don't you guys agree?
I don't know that the Freemasons make their money on capstone selling. I think they do other things. I agree that you're like right in the larger viewpoint, but your idea that the Freemasons just solely make capstones and that they've invested heavily into this one capstone.
They're not like the Amish with their fireplaces.
Yeah, it's just, but yes, I think in theory you're correct. Also, I mean, the Freemasons are not the New World Order, so it's sort of like a different conspiracy, though, as well, to some degree, if you're going to get into the Freemasons, because that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy crossover, I feel, with this whole story with the whole Denver airport thing. And I agree with you, Trav, on that. So, but yeah, so that's the whole story behind the capstone, but it was just made in dedication of the opening of the airport in 1994. So if we go back one image, Al, we can go back to the evil Bronco. Again, this was not in the documentary, and I'm not even sure how, if any way, that this really ties into the conspiracy as far as the New World Order goes, other than it's just a creepy-looking Bronco that's just outside of the Denver airport. The weird story behind it, and Trav Mydell, if you know more to the story, feel free to share. But during the making of this statue of a giant blue Bronco with glowing red eyes, a part of it fell off and landed on top of the artist, I believe. Ended up killing the artist, and it was until later the artist's family funded and finished the project for him in memory of him, and then they put it at the Denver airport. But
so they evil after it killed him,
I guess. I mean, I still don't really. There's two questions that I would have. One, why do they have an evil-looking Bronco other than I get that like the Denver Broncos play there, and they probably have wild horses there at some point at least. But what does that mean? Like, why would you put that? And why do they have to have glowing red eyes? And then 2, what does that have anything to do with the conspiracy?
Maybe it's just like no one's ever gotten a good picture of it. Like they always just accidentally catch it with the red eye.
Alan's like on dad joke fever tonight.
I know.
I ain't gonna follow.
Well, I think the thing about the horse is, like from what I read, and I had to look it up right before we talked because I couldn't remember what it was exactly, but the artist claimed that the red eyes were like the wild spirit of America, he said. Like it wasn't intent. The dude has obviously never seen Terminator or any other robot movie. It just takes one of those movies to know that the moment something's eyes turn red, that it has gone evil. But for him, I think it was like meant to capture like the fact that it was like a wild horse out there that's just like living free, which seems super fishy. But I think what a lot of people, where it leans into the conspiracy theories, is a lot of people say that it relates to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And that's what I think a lot of that, those series. And of course, like you said, Danny, it doesn't help that the guy who was building it died from it.
Yeah. So I think that does add to the conspiracy. But again, it just doesn't, there's no explanation that I saw. Granted, it's not like I dug super, super deep into it, but why the horse itself necessarily has anything to do with the conspiracy. And maybe it doesn't really, but people just like to bring it up because it's just a weird, creepy looking horse. And it kind of fits the mold of many of the other things we'll talk about here in a minute at the airport itself.
They do call it Lucifer, which I think is pretty great.
Well,
that's like an Alan level joke.
I would say though, it's not even just the eyes that make it like look evil. Like if you look down here, like it has these weird veiny things, and then like ribs are showing, like it's almost like a skeleton-y, like malnourished bronco. The whole thing.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that it was malnourished, but that's a good point.
And Danny's done a lot of research and talked to a lot of people, so he's basing that knowledge off of really deep. As just moments ago, he told us, I didn't look into it, but that sounds about right to me when referring to the plaques of the Freemasons business. So
its mane doesn't even look healthy. Look, it's all just jaggedy. It's not like free flowing and full.
I mean, it's like undoubtedly a weird horse. I think the Denver airport's biggest crime is just picking weird artists to like put their stuff together.
Yeah, which takes us great transition, Trav. That takes us right into our next topic, which is the murals at the Denver airport. So if you want to bring up the next image, Alan. But yeah, they have these strange murals that are just throughout the Denver airport that people are trying to read into. Here's one that has just a series of animals. This seems to be like a dead person child, like in a casket on the bottom right hand corner. It's just, I don't know. I mean, what would you guys make of this particular picture just looking at it? I mean, it just seems odd, I guess, like an odd choice to have at an airport.
Yeah,
I imagine it sitting right next to a Chili's too, and it's just like people are coming out of the Chili's getting their fries before they board the plane, and then walking past this super weird mural.
So you're saying there's a Chili's in the airport?
Yeah, you know those Chili's in the airport. Chili's 2 with 2 zeros.
Oh,
Chili's.
I thought you were trying to say because there's like ribs in it, and so you're like, those are probably like baby back ribs.
What? No,
Danny.
Why? Wait, first off, no. I'm not even dignifying that with the response. No, my comment is really that like it is super like of all the things about the Denver airport, the art to me is the most suspicious. But if you go and like take like a look at like art history, like all old paintings and stuff were very weird and very symbolic, and there's all sorts of like weird things happening. And I feel like this is just an artist who has done that same thing in a modern day, but it's just like, again, why it was chosen for the airport, I just don't know. That's like the part that's weird to me. Like it's just the wrong place for this kind of like crazy piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's got animals in glass containers, and I don't know.
Well,
It's strange. But the next
trees are all
image,
on fire. Oh. Well, you got the trees that are all on fire, and then you behind, like right here, you have the crop. So maybe it's like deforestation is killing all the animals, and eventually the circle of life will come around and kill us humans too. I
That
don't know.
sounds good. I like
yeah,
that.
that's a good theory. That's better than anything I came up with. I feel like the girl in pink is really about to get an earful from that sperm whale. But,
Yeah, that's
just
also
me.
probably right though. That sperm whale has got some things he wants to get off his chest.
All right, so let's go to the next image. So here again is another mural. You could tell this is the one that Trav chose to put as his background, Trav Cole. But this is another strange one to me. Initial thoughts at looking at it, it appears to be like a Nazi type looking military member that's wearing a gas mask, holding some kind of gun that resembles an AK-47 with a knife at the end of it, and wielding a sword.
Thank you, Alan. Let's call it what it is, Dan. It's a bayonet.
A bayonet.
The gun sword he's got.
That's a bayonet.
People have
like
said
there's a white thing at the bottom. It's some type of bird animal.
Yeah, it's a dove, and people assume that the dove is him stabbing the dove, which means that he's killing or stabbing peace, because doves are a symbol of peace. And then behind him is just like a series of like distraught people and crying mothers, and I guess they're sleeping children, but I don't know.
Sure,
I mean,
let's go with that.
I have a hard time
Why
saying.
isn't he moving? He's sleeping.
They're literally, are they sleeping on a bed of bricks?
What are they, Wreck-It Ralph? Get out of here.
But yeah, it's a weird painting. So yeah, I don't know how you would translate that painting per se, but it's a weird painting, but it is kind of connected to the next image, as you guys can see, like
hang on.
If you can see in front of the Nazi-looking dude, it's like a streak that kind of comes up and across and behind him and turns into this rainbow that then bleeds into the image that's located next to this image in the airport. And now you can go, Alan. That's the one.
Go ahead.
Alan's bringing it up here.
You didn't want to say something, Trav?
No, go ahead. I'll come back to it. I'll come back.
And bleeds into this, and then you can see it's kind of, I mean, it's a bunch of people of all different ethnicities all over the world, seemingly celebrating at the expense of that Nazi dude now being dead and buried, and the peaceful doves now sitting on top of him. But it's a weird image, and again, why it's in an airport, I don't really know.
I think that this one does a lot to like undo, I think, a lot of what we've seen, because you do kind of get a vibe here that this is like, it means well, like it's sort of like all these kind of trials and tribulations, and we've led to, like, you can see on the right down there, like the bottom right, it says like war, violence, hate, like it's cracking. Like I think the artist's intention was to be positive and was to be peaceful. It's just like, to get there, you had to go through the dark, which as standalone images look super weird. And that last image, what I was going to comment about is like, I'm really actually surprised it even got through. I don't think it could get through nowadays. I think because it was made in 95, it got through, but the idea of drawing something with a gun on it after 9/11 seems like it would never, I don't think that would ever fly in this day and age.
Yeah.
To put that up on
in an airport.
Yeah, in an airport,
Yeah.
to put up like an imagery that has like gun and people dead and stuff like that. I think this is like a bygone of an era that is just not existent anymore of these, pre 9/11 types of experiences.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, there's another podcast that I listen to sometimes. There's another local podcast by a local comedian, Marcus, but it's called Area 52. And they have an episode on the Denver airport, and they talk about these images. And I mean, in the end, they said no matter what, like whatever the translation is behind all of this, however you want to, translate it, I guess, for lack of a better word, it doesn't really matter. It just doesn't, because it just doesn't seem like it belongs in an airport. And on top of it, you would think that in an airport, it wouldn't be just like one dude willy-nilly making a decision of like, oh yeah, my buddy's an artist, I'm just going to let him come paint whatever he wants. It seems like there would be several people who would have to approve something to allow it to end up in the airport. And if at some point there was like a mistake where they're like, whoa, this is probably inappropriate to have in an airport, why wouldn't they just like cover it up and like put something else there?
Yeah. But again,
I mean,
why would you post things about, like, if you're the Illuminati or New World Order or whatever, keep it a secret. Don't put it up on your walls. So
well, and that's the whole thing, and that's one of the reasons why I think like most of this is just bogus. Because it's like, I mean, why create an organization that you definitely want to keep hush hush, and then just be like, wait, let's just put little hints places. Yeah. I think that'll be fun. It'll be like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
They'll know, but they won't know.
The Denver Airport scavenger hunt of 1995 got out of control.
I mean, can you imagine them in that type of a meeting? Like, there's like all these evil world leaders in a big old just room with a big old table, and they're like, today we discuss the Denver Airport scavenger hunt and how that will lead to maybe someone knowing that we exist.
If movies and comics have taught me anything, though, it is that villains love to like blab about their plan. So I feel like maybe that's just what this is. Maybe it was just them being like, and first what we're going to do is put up artwork all around the airport to lure the people in.
Yeah, I think psychologically there might be something to that. Like, if you're putting so much of your time and effort into something, it's pretty hard to not talk about it to anybody, right? Or to just like completely not let anybody even have it. Like serial killers, they do that sometimes, right? They'll like kind of
taunt the police
with the police because they crave that interaction, kind of.
But this is talking about a whole organization, like essentially functioning like a business, which feels
I guess
different than like one mental.
And like they could talk to each other about it if there was a whole organization doing it, I guess. So they would be able to get their feelings out, I guess, if that's the concern. But yeah, there's just multiple. I mean, again, there's just these weird murals. So stack that on top of the caps.
So with this, I can kind of see like it's a airport. It's a super busy one. It's an international one. What was that? Did the plaque say something about New World Airport or something like that? So this is like showing all the different like peoples of the world, the nationalities, and it's saying peace and all these different.
Yeah, and that part makes sense. Like I think that part makes sense.
But the whole message of war, violence, and hate doesn't, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like it just, why are you putting all this other stuff in there? I mean, unless it's artist liberties, but you would think in such a public setting that they would be like, hey, maybe give us a sketch of what you're going to put up there before you do it so that we could be like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of that. So then that takes us to the AU and AG that is located on the floor in the Denver airports. This must be an airport thing to kind of put these like gold-laden things on granite slabs that are on the floor, because I feel like the Salt Lake Airport does this too.
Yeah, we have like the world in that, don't we? Like a globe on the floor.
There's like a compass, isn't
Yeah.
there? Or no?
There used to be a world, but I don't remember if that's still there, if they've removed that when they did the renovation and put something else in. But anyway, one of many pictures that they have on the floor at the Denver airport is this mining cart that has the letters AUAG in it. Logically, you would think it's a mining cart. Denver, or Colorado in general, has been known for their mining history, specifically that of gold and silver. And AU just happens to be the anatomical symbol on the periodic table for gold, and AG is the symbol for silver. So that makes the most sense to me. But in watching the documentary...
It's the anatomical symbol.
What's that, Alan?
Did you say it's the anatomical symbol?
Oh, the atomic symbol.
Elemental.
Nerd.
Elemental.
Freaking nerd. I was laughing the whole time, being like, dummy.
Sorry, the elemental symbol on the periodic table, AU and AG. That makes the most sense to me. But the guy in the documentary who the host is interviewing through most of the beginning of the documentary seems to think that AUAG stands for a virus that is going to be unleashed on the world at some point that will wipe out and decimate the majority of the Earth's population. So I looked up AUAG virus. I could not find anything specifically that was AUAG. I saw like there were viruses that had part of it was AU or AG, but not just an AUAG virus. So I'm not sure if he's thinking it's going to be some kind of hybrid virus between different viruses that incorporate the AU symbol and the AG symbol.
Well, it's because it's now known as COVID.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
I haven't seen this one anywhere in any of the
That's
articles I read.
Well, then they failed because is very slow to get to the point that they want to get to. It's a slow, arduous process. But yeah, so do you guys have any other opinions on this mining cart?
No, it's
symbol?
clearly a mine cart with gold and silver, which is something that Colorado is known for. It's not a very difficult thing to decipher.
I think that they could have. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. All right. I think that this is one where like this guy, whoever they're talking to, just made this up. There's no rhyme or reason for this. Like I didn't see this anywhere in my reading, and so this one just seems like it's stretching beyond. Because you could be like, this is actually referring to the Great War between Austin, Texas, and Afghanistan. Like you could like make up anything you possibly want to put into there. Like, and it has no basis out of any fact whatsoever. So it seems absolutely silly to like even remotely have this one be a reason.
Yeah, it could just be different greetings, like AU, AG.
Yeah.
Oh.
AG.
But
This
Trav, Mydell, I think
will forever be known as the dad joke episode
from Alan.
Alan's dead.
But instead of being Austin, Texas, and Afghanistan, I think it means Australia and Argentina.
Oh, see, I mean, look at that. You took my thing and you made it as more believable than that guy's virus. I would have more believed that than that guy's virus, because at least you based it off something kind of real.
But yeah, no, it's just kind of one of those things. I think if anybody watches the documentary, you can see like this guy. I mean, the host, first of all, seems like he's having a very hard time keeping a straight face when talking to him and listening to all of his conspiratorial ideas behind it. But I also came away from this documentary with one thought in mind, and that is, I think there's a very small subset of the population that is your conspirators, right? They're the ones that are the one spreading all these conspiracy theories, digging into things. They see things that others don't, and they make things of things that maybe there isn't anything to be made of. But this group of people, I feel like, uses the word fascist more than the rest of the population combined. Would you concur?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because
Yes. I'll be honest, I didn't entirely track what you were saying. I'm going to confess. I agreed, and then thought I'd be honest and say I didn't.
No, it's just that the guy in the documentary said the word fascist so many times. Like, you want to live in a fascist state? You're going to get us. They're fascists. Like, all these different things. But that brings me, though, speaking of this gentleman also brought up a picture that he gave to the main host. Would we go to the first one first, Alan? The one I numbered before this one?
No, you didn't. That one's 8. That one's 7.
Oh, mistakes were made. Sorry.
It's a conspiracy about Danny's ability to count.
So here is a picture of the airport runways. So if you just look at it and someone kind of hints that, hey, what does this look like to you? Yes, you can bring up the next picture. You can kind of be like, all right, I can see a general sense that it is in the shape of a swastika. So to him, this is another reason that there's this whole like Nazi-run New World Order that is hiding out underneath the Denver airport. And one more reason that they're just wanting to make sure people know is that they're making the shape of their runways into a swastika.
You know what? And this is where just it makes sense that they have a runway coming in from all directions.
Yeah.
North, east, south, and west.
Yes. That does make the logical sense, Trav, because you need to have runways going different directions because it depends on which way the wind is blowing.
So my question
to
is,
make sure
then,
you can land or take off properly.
How many other airports support a swastika landing zone system?
So what you're
that's
saying,
the bigger issue here.
Berlin Airport, probably.
It's really an airport issue that all airports are run by Nazi-run New World Orders.
Yes.
Okay.
But so
I think we have solved the entire conspiracy.
what I don't
Think
get is what the hell does the New World Order have to do with Nazis? What is the point? Who cares if it looks like a swastika? Nobody ever said that Nazis are the New World Order.
The Nazis are fascists. So I guess that's why. I don't know.
And Hitler, I guess, supposedly was one of the first ones to start talking about the New World Order.
Pharrell?
Because the New World Order is kind of like, it's a whole ideal, right? So behind, I mean, this is my very, very uneducated opinion on this whole thing. But yeah, like the New World Order is basically, what are we going to do in the future when the world basically comes to an end, has to start over? That's why there's a lot of stories behind, like, well, this New World Order, if you were to look at it from an evil standpoint, they would be the ones trying to unleash a pandemic or a world war or something that's going to take out a large portion of like 90% of the population, and so that they can start the world over with their own viewpoints, and everyone that's left will be easier to get to conform because they're going to be forced to seek refuge or whatever from the people with the ability to recreate and restart the world and put everyone back on like the path of moving forward. So finally, speaking of that, that's where this whole thing about the Georgia Guidestones, this is like kind of the central theme that this documentary one kind of was based around, was these Georgia Guidestones. So the documentary started off with a reenactment of a gentleman walking into a bank requesting to meet with I would assume the branch manager of the bank. Sits there while he's waiting in the waiting room. He's looking at blueprints of this giant stone creation or project or whatever. And then he gets called into the manager's office. He goes in there, they close the door, he shuts the blinds, and he's like, all right. He's like, throws the blueprints down on the desk, and the guy's like, do you need funding to build this? And he's like, no, I don't need funding. And then he opens a briefcase full of money that apparently he can fund this whole project with. All he says what he needs is like anonymity or something like that.
He says your discretion.
Your discretion. So,
Ooh.
one, let's just break this scene down for a second. I work in banking and have done so for 20 years. Well, if somebody already has the money, why do they need to go to the bank at all? Why doesn't he just go hire somebody, give him the cash to build this structure that he wants? So to me, it makes almost no sense that he's going into the bank if he already has the funds. Anybody have anything to say about that?
Well, he
Discretion? Didn't he say that?
Middleman to go and do the hiring for him. But yeah, why would you go to a bank for that?
Yeah, like just
go to
find a contractor and he'd be your middleman.
Or cut out the middleman and make the contractor say he won't divulge your identity.
Or have the contractor build it and then ice him. That way he can't ever tell anybody.
Yeah.
But by the way, this picture of the airport is, I think this is clearly like in the middle of construction. So it's not even fully built here. Like these weren't the completed runways. Like I think they even said in the documentary, there were more runways added later, like when it was finished and stuff. So, and this
makes a second swastika over top of it when you spin it like this. There's two swastikas on top of each other now.
It's a double swastika.
That's like we're really into the Nazis.
So
this is in the middle of construction because where are all the airplanes? I don't see any airplanes.
It's bullshit.
If you go to the next picture, though, then you can see. So this next picture is the Georgia Guidestones, and this is what the gentleman, R.C. Christian, who's the one that went into the bank, supposedly asked for discretion, even though he had all the cash he needed to build this monuments. But they constructed this monument in Georgia, and they became known as the Georgia Guidestones. Basically, what it is, these giant granite slabs that are the four large ones that are standing up, and then there's like a central pillar with another large stone kind of resting on top of that and the other four stones. But there's a bunch of writing on it in different languages. So apparently each of these is one of 8 languages, because there's 4 stones, 2 sides to each stone. So each side has its own set of 10 rules that they claim to be the 10 rules that are set by the New World Order. One of those rules at the very top says something along the lines of once the population is down to 500 million, or the population will be 500 million, which if you're using today's population, that's like 1/16 of the population of the earth. So they would basically, in essence, be saying that they would be killing off 15 out of 16 people to get down to this. So that's the whole nefarious point, is if you think the New World Order is evil, then it would make sense that you would say, well, yeah, naturally they're looking for a way to get down to 500 million. But there is like the opposing view that's saying, well, okay, let's say it is this New World Order, but what if it was, instead of being like a evil corporation or something like that, what if it was more of like a, hey, back when this was built in like 1980 or whatever, it was during the height of the Cold War, and the worry was that there would be some kind of nuclear fallout, nuclear war, and if that were to happen, let's say that the Earth's population did end up down around 500 million, and what would we do, and how would we rebuild the the world from that point. So in essence, it's more of like a, hey, this sucks if we get to this point, though. This is, I think, ideally what we should do to move forward and how we should construct the society at that point.
Did somebody like spill a drink on this stone?
Someone sneezed.
It was a large sneeze.
The biggest sneeze
But-
ever.
So like I can see how psychologically, if you went and actually saw it, you would like focus on that number 500 million and what that means over anything else, because in all 8 there's going to be the 500 million is going to be the only thing that you can read in all the languages.
Yeah.
This isn't at the airport. This is in Georgia.
Yeah.
So this is just
This is in
connected to
Georgia.
the New World Order, not to the airport specifically.
Yeah. So that does bring me to my point of like, there's nothing that I heard or saw that necessarily directly correlated the two, other than, yes, like the whole idea behind the New World Order, tying the two things together. Because I don't think there's anything at the Denver airport that specifically hinted like, you should go, like, here's the next piece of the puzzle. Like, you have to travel to Georgia and check out these guide stones or whatever. But interesting little things about this structure is in the middle there off on the picture, if for anybody's watching it, but if not, look up pictures of it. There is like a little slit basically cut into it. That is basically a sundial. And then the whole idea behind that was it'd be a way for whoever was left at the point when they were down to 500 million and trying to regroup could then figure out their times again and their dates and stuff like that.
Because the sun is supposed to shine directly through it as it sets on the summer solstice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's how they would be able to get like the date and the seasons and stuff. Okay. Below it, supposedly there's a time capsule buried underneath the monument, but the dates that where they were supposed to be dates when it was buried and when it was supposed to be uncovered have been removed or scratched out or whatever. But I didn't see anything about that on the documentary as far as the time capsule goes. And then in the documentary, the main host does end up tracking down the banker who was asked for discretion by R.C. Christian. He goes to visit him at his home, and in talking to him, he asks, well, was there any other plans to like expand this monument or anything? He said, yes, actually there was. There was supposed to be 8 more stones placed around these stones, and they would call those the moonstones, and they would each have these same rules written on them, but in even more languages. So, but that portion never got built. So
those stones were supposed to have like some similar slit types things in it so that you could track the lunar cycle.
Yeah, that's right. And that's supposed to be kind of like a similar idea to Stonehenge, if I understood that right.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that.
So, yeah. But again, there really is no super tie that I could tell. I mean, Trav, you watched the documentary with me. Did you notice any real tie between the Denver airport and these Georgia Guidestones?
No, other than the fact that it was the moment that they did the dramatic scene where he looked inside the slit.
On the subject.
That's
And
right.
then
And they got him from his backside.
he stands up and he dials a phone number, and then finally talks to the lady at the airport, and he's like, this is Scott Walters, and I need answers. And
But she just so casually like accepts, like, oh yeah,
Well,
sure, come on down. I'll give you a tour of the tunnels.
So what are these called again?
Georgia Guidestones.
The Guidestones. Because he calls and he's like, hi, this is Scott Walters. I'm following up on a message that I left a little while ago. I'm here at the Georgia Guidestones. And she's like, sure. And I'm like,
She just knows.
Do you know what the Georgia Guidestones are? Like, is it something well known? Like, if somebody called me and was like, hey, Travis, I'm at the Georgia Guidestones. I'd been like, what? Like, what does that have to do with me? Why are you calling me? But for whatever reason, that was enough for the lady to be like, okay, come on by. I will give you a tour of our tunnels.
But when she said that she'll give him a tour of the tunnels, he did, like, the way he reacted was kind of surprised because he just goes, "Oh, really?"
Oh, you will? Oh, okay.
I didn't think no one's ever taken me seriously before. I just feel bad for you.
So from here, yeah, he goes back to Denver and he goes and meets with the woman that he was talking to on the phone. And
But mind you, he had called and left a message for her previously, and then he goes to the Georgia Guidestones. Then he leaves there to go talk to the banker guy, and then later he's like, "But I had to go back to the Georgia Guidestones on a very special date, which is the summer solstice to look through that slit and see the sun there." So, and then he called and talked to the lady, and she said, "I can give you a tour." So, like, how long was it since his first call to her, and then the second one? Like, are we talking months that he was like, "And now's a good time on the summer solstice to call her back"?
All staged.
never know.
Yes.
Movie
She
magic.
knew about him calling. She wouldn't just offer him a tour to some stranger at the Georgia Guidestones. It's all just movie magic.
So yeah. Anyway, he goes back. He gets the tour of the tunnels below, which is fine. And the tunnels look very much like what I would imagine underneath an airport to look like. Like Alan said earlier, it's got all of the conveyor belts that are no longer in use or whatever, but used to be how they would operate all of the luggage, maneuvering the luggage and the luggage. What do they call it when they send it up and you retrieve it? The luggage carousels or whatever. Baggage claim area, yeah. But apparently it was like not very efficient and was very, very expensive to run, so they ditched that and they left it there. Probably the strangest thing that we saw in the documentary was a chalk outline of an alien that they just drove past, but kind of did not mention anything about it. Just breezed right over that.
Somebody just
For a
had
different-
chalk and was like, here's an alien.
Yeah.
For a different
Heard about all the conspiracies.
And so, but I mean, that kind of wraps up the conspiracy behind the New World Order, at least as far as what I had. Trav, do you say you had a couple other conspiracies, though, around the Denver airport? Because I know there are others that kind of...
No, I mean, yes, there are others, but I don't want to, like, we don't need to go into because we've already beat this Denver airport to death with a crazy. We've talked about it a lot, but there's, other things with Illuminati and all that kind of stuff that I saw that were different things, but we don't need to go into them.
Yeah. So in the end, my conclusion would be, I don't think there's much to it.
But the banker...
I think it's a lot of, it just shows you people's ability to create a web and connect things that aren't necessarily connected to create a story or a narrative that fits their beliefs and their conspiracy. But that's kind of the extent of what I would think or say about this particular conspiracy.
But the banker it was RC Christian.
Yeah. No, that's the guy that asked for...
Yeah, for discretion.
Discretion.
Well, the banker, the RC Christian asked for discretion, did say that the RC Christian guy, that was his pseudonym, did mention New World Order a few times.
That's right. He did say that.
But who knows?
So what do you...
The banker.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm aligned with you. I think it's just a lot of fanciful art and interesting things that have kind of correlated to lead to some really loose conspiracies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would almost say that all of the conspiracies we covered outside of this one in a way feel more believable than this one does to me. But
yeah. I guess this is the one that's like kind of the most fun to some degree because you can kind of make it whatever you want and it's very movie-esque. I think the others are kind of more built around some form of reality. Trav's maybe with Paul McCartney being like the least realistic, but it's still, kind of based around something, whereas this one's just like there's devils and Nazis and horses and like it's just all goofy.
Yeah, and their big like trump card as far as proving it is the fact that the ground is made of sandstone and therefore it could be tunneled through.
Yeah, which is like a lot of the Earth. So
so I guess that wraps up the Denver airports. What'd you say, Al?
The 10 Commandments written on like stone tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But different stone tablets than the Georgia Guidestones.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, you want to take us out, Trav? Or?
Sure. Not much to say now. I think we said it all. But, if you are listening to this, first off, thank you. Second, do you believe in the conspiracy?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Do you believe in it? Do you believe in the New World Order? And that for whatever reason they wanted to put their headquarters in the tunnels of the Denver airport. But anyway.
Now, that was one other fact that they said that we didn't mention was that once Washington goes down or whatever, they're going to move the capital to Denver. I'm not
Which
sure
has already been done
like...
in Hunger Games, and so that would at this point be cliche.
And maybe I'm wrong. I just never knew that there was like a backup plan, and if there is a backup plan to where the capital will be, I would have assumed like New York, where it originally was, over Denver. But that's just me.
Yeah. So, but anyway, let's
in New York because the whole reason they moved it was in DC now is because like it was a middle ground between the South and the North.
Yeah, but I think we're a little bit past our slavery disputes.
Huh?
I don't think it's really an issue anymore. I don't think the South is just like, well, as soon as they move the capital from DC to New York, we're bringing the slaves back because they're too far away to do anything about it.
You never know in this day and age.
Yeah, they still have a lot of Confederate stuff, monuments.
I want to do an experiment where we have an episode where Trav and I don't say a damn word and just see how long it goes between you two.
The episode ran 7 hours before Zoom finally kicked them off.
But
take us out.
That's it. That's all there is about this conspiracy. No need to talk about it anymore. Let us know what you think. Look us up. YouTube. You want to be the third person to watch this, then you go ahead and do that, and we'll look forward to interacting with anybody who wants to do the same. But you can catch us on all of our social media pages. Just Google it, you'll find us. And this is it. No more conspiracies. We're going to move on to some other things. I can't remember what our next topic is, but
bios.
What is it?
Those bios.
Isn't it real versus real?
Oh,
real versus real. Yeah, that's what it was.
Real versus real. So we'll tell you a little bit about that when we get to it next week. But so stay tuned. But thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.